Hi, this time I wanted to talk about a couple of things: the quest for immersion and what some refer to as immersive miniatures or battle maps, etc. First, let's talk about immersion, the quest for immersion. I think there is a lot of wasted potential when it comes to tabletop RPG sessions where there are a few players, even of course the game master usually, that are looking for immersion in their games. Immersion is quite simple to understand. It is achieved through roleplay. You know that you are immersed when you actually feel as the character in the game world. You feel within the game world. You are the character. You are living those experiences. If you have obtained some other thing that is not that, that is not immersion. Immersion is when you actually feel as if you are there. If there are some that are watching this video that do not know the difference between roleplay and acting, please check out my video in the description, the role-playing acting confusion, and my RPG tips playlist as well. Some may feel like their group is going to fall apart if they try to introduce immersion, or rather introduce roleplay in order to achieve immersion. I don't think this is the case if you are playing with a good RPG group. There are many times when a player introduces the actual concept of roleplay in a tabletop role-playing game, because if you are playing a tabletop role-playing game, you should be playing a game and you should also be role-playing. But there are cases like an example, C4 Crispy, one of my players, he recently introduced actual roleplay into his sessions. Maybe there were glimpses of roleplay before. I don't know the exact history of his sessions, but he still felt that need of roleplay, of actual roleplay, and he's been having some positive results. And his group never objected to the actual act of role-playing in a tabletop role-playing game. Another example, Rick from the 28mm RPG channel. He also, until a few months back, or perhaps a year, he didn't put too much emphasis on roleplay, and then he actually introduced roleplay, eliminating out of character questions. I think he has had some moments where his players have slipped up, like they fell into bad habits and they start to ask out of character questions. Then that the session suffers for it. But he has been improving. His group has been improving with each actual play. And when they actually manage to obtain actual roleplay in an actual play, they achieve immersion. Although you can always improve many things, that applies to all of us, but you get to experience that actual immersion without having it as some sort of ambiguous concept. You are actually there within that adventure, within that scenario. Even as a game master, you experience the adventure through the eyes, the ears, the interactions of the player characters, and through the non-player characters that you are controlling as well, of course, because you are those non-player characters, you are those player characters. And then I started to think, well, just to wrap that up, if you have your RPG group and you feel like there is no roleplay, just introduce it. Try to introduce it into the session. If it is a group that is worth keeping around, they will try it. They will actually attempt it and they will enjoy it. There is no immersion that doesn't bring forth some sort of enjoyment. Please check out my actual play in the description. When we finish that actual play, and this happens in all of my RPG sessions, whether it be in the virtual or physical environment, the players are always commenting, "I had so much fun." So there is fun in immersion. But if your group objects to actual role play, then you must rethink if you are actually playing a tabletop role-playing game, or if you are playing something else like a board game or a Mother May I conversation. that is not actually role playing. There are many posers that try to, for some reason, maybe it's a sort of street cred type of situation or something, they want to be labeled as role players, but they are not. Far from it. You couldn't be so far from the concept. Now let's move on. I have every now and then I have seen some the most immersive battle mat, or the most immersive tabletop map, or the most immersive miniatures. I think this is not accurate. The reason why you want to use miniatures and battle mats and such in your RPG sessions is when your system is usually on the simulationist side and you have many rules and mechanics that benefit from the use of miniatures. That is, the templates, the positioning is quite important, all sorts of area of effects. If you want to really pinpoint when there is an actual an attack of opportunity. So it's all about those battle considerations usually. Of course, it is all about your enjoyment. If you want to map out every little section of the adventure, that is up to you. I have mentioned in a previous video that even when it comes to tactical or strategic or simulationist RPGs, it is much better, in my opinion, to only map or play in the just represent in the gaming table those situations that have to do with battle. If you are carrying out exploration, there is no need for that as long as the players are quite clear in the description of their actions, of their characters' interactions with the game world. So taking that into consideration, miniatures and mats and all of that, they are just there as tools or aids for those tactical considerations. And they are not particularly immersive. It's just that if they are decorated in a really nice, really pretty way, they could assist the beginner role player in not breaking immersion. Because if you are an experienced role player, a true role player, you already know what it is to have, like, I made that example of Odin, of that deity in another video, that he has his eye on the numinous invisible realms, and he has his other eye here in the material realm. So that's for the same for role players. Part of you is experiencing the fictional reality. Another part of you is here in the material world, where you have dice and pencils and character sheets in order to keep track of different mechanical related things, or mechanics rather, rules, mechanics and such. So in the case of miniatures and maps, a lot of you already know this, but they are basically the remnants of that wargame origin related to tabletop role-playing games. In fact, at certain moments, Gygax actually considered removing them altogether, but they also served as a sort of attraction for wargamers. Dungeons and Dragons was first pitched to wargamers, miniature wargamers. So in that way, they felt comfortable. They had this familiarity with the use of miniatures and maps and battles on the table. And so that was a way of pulling them in. And of course, later on, there was the business side of selling miniatures and maps and geomorphs and all of that. So that's why they have been kept around. But mostly, if you want like a mechanical reason, it's because of those tabletop RPGs that have that war game aspect to them, or skirmish game. It's part of the game system, role-playing game. But there are many RPGs that do not require those, and even many tactical RPGs that have some rules on how to guesstimate the range, the attacks, the distances. So it's all about what you feel comfortable with, what you enjoy. As personal advice, I would highly recommend that if you are playing on the virtual environment, unless you are a master at using those virtual tabletops and maps and counters, everyone in the session should be an expert in using those. Otherwise, there are going to be some very clumsy moments. Things are going to stall or lag, because you're going to be like, oh, I need to move my token over here. Okay, I moved it over here. Oh, can I place it over and it takes so long. It looks so clumsy. It's quite immersion breaking. You have to be like experts, like you're describing your actions and at the same time you're moving your token, and that's it. And it doesn't take away from the experience, But as general advice, definitely, if you decide to play online, go without miniatures or maps of any kind, in my opinion, as my advice. I am someone that enjoys using miniatures for role playing games whenever I get the chance. But as you can see from my actual play, the Quick and Classic RPG does not require any of that, and that's more comfortable for me when running games online. Thank you for watching this video. I would love to know your thoughts on this. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.